That you were getting to protect Riverside City, protecting the drug cartels over the citizens of Riverside. Katie Porter and Betty Yee committing political suicide in the California governor's race. Looks like Katie's got a twin in Betty Yee. It just goes to show you, California, you better pay attention to who you're electing. The dingwads we got or have in there and are running, Jesus. It's almost unimaginable what we've done to ourselves. Trump sending troops into San Francisco. RUSD board member Candy Olson fighting racism. We'll have you the videotape on that. The Supreme Court called blacks justice. Well, the Supreme Court justice did. She happens to have a very dark skin tone of black or brown or something. We'll get into it all here in a bit, but the lead story of the day, the city of Riverside led by two-time DUI recipient, although her record may be expunged on one or two, Clarissa Cervantes proffered a odious measure before the council. Oh, we're going to strip the masks off the ICE agents, and they're snatching them off the street. No due process, which is maybe partially true, but a lot untrue. They passed it last night on a 4-3 vote. The ones who are protecting the cartels and those breaking the law, Clarissa Cervantes, Sean Mill, Steve Hemingway, and Phil Falcone, those standing up for the citizens of Riverside, led by the great retired military guy, Chuck Conder, Steve Robillard, and Jim Perry, voted no to not pit Riverside cops against ICE agents and create more chaos, which the other four have done. Here's the great Chuck Conder at the council meeting. Here we go.
Work on this. It will do nothing to promote justice or make anyone feel safer in their communities. Now, I won't lie. It does give me pause to see American law enforcement officers covering their faces as they are enforcing our laws and make arrests.
We'll have much, much more on that, but yes, he's exactly right. It is not going to make our community safer. And the fact that we're in this situation as it is, because the cartels, as we reported yesterday, have put $50,000 hits on ICE Border Patrol agents by the cartels, the Mexican and Chinese cartels that are running the drug, sex, and labor trade and everything else here in California. Oh man, we've got trouble, as they say, in River City. We'll have more again on this here in a bit as we dive deeper into the situation, which is revolting that the council still got moving in the right direction, Riverside City Council, from the wokeologists. Before it was 6-1, now it's down to 4-3. You got a chance to turn that around, Riverside, in 2026. Don't blow it. The brain surgeon, Ketanji Jackson Brown, or whatever her name is, Brown Jackson, referred to Black Americans as disabled under the Supreme Court hearing, the hearing that's about, and they're going to fix the wrongs of the Voting Rights Act. The Jim Crow stuff was right, allowing everybody a chance and not intimidating people to vote. The racist policy, along with the private property we'll get into, was, it was okay to gerrymander because, and we'll get into the reasons why. And if it isn't racism, I invite anyone in here. We'll have a discussion about this. But the racism from Ketanji and Sotomayor were on full display, and the attorney for them, holy cow, as we say, it was something else. Judge blocked Trump's administration from firing federal employees. It was a California judge. I'm pretty almost certain the Supreme Court will uh, deter that one. Also, El Presidente, Donald J., indicating he's going to be sending the feds into San Francisco. Here we go.
And the way you look at it is every boat that we knock out, we save 25,000 American lives. So every time you see a boat and you feel badly, you say, wow, that's rough. It is rough. But if you lose 3 people and save 25,000 people, these are people that are killing our population. Every boat is saving 25,000 lives. And you can see it.
Well, I had the wrong one, but that was the one where, when they blew the boats out of the water from the cartels and everybody's going, oh, everyone saves 25,000 lives. There you have it. There's also the one about him sending the troops in to San Francisco. It's our new one. Well, we'll have this up. This will probably be tomorrow. You'll get a preview of tomorrow's Mimi on IE Newswire. Just let them speak. MAGA's secret plot to make the woke lives look like complete idiots. I'll try to say that right. Just let them speak. MAGA's secret plot to make the woke libs look like complete idiots. There we do. Got it right. We'll have this and much, much more on today's show to be rollicking, rocking, and raucous, as we usually do. Yes, we do. Minutes go. It was a heck of a Tuesday night last night. On top of that, with the Riverside fiasco going on, and you would think after the whole Hamas fiasco that Clarissa pulled off on that, she'd figure out of that. I think it's going to backfire. We'll see. I mean, you never know in politics. Everything's a crapshoot. We know that. We've been around it too long. See why it's there. But we have one of the most dynamic political times in our lifetime. And it goes back to a lot of what Tom Del Beccaro wrote in his book, The Divided Era, about 15 years ago. And it's getting worse. The fact that we would be pitting law enforcement officers against each other, that the city of Riverside would require the Riverside City cops to go spy on ICE agents enforcing federal immigration law or wouldn't want to cooperate with them. Why wouldn't you want people in your country legally and lawfully? That's a 60-40 issue. 80-20, they want the criminals out, and the criminals are all behind. Let's get it straight. Oh, all those nice guys that got the dump trucks and whatever and labor sitting at the Home Depot. 98.7% of them are run by the cartels. The Mexican cartels, the China, which are really subservient to the China cartels, which got more money and more power. But you want to embolden those? They're running the sex trade, the labor trade, and everything else. And to run the crocodile tears and all the hoo-hawing and everything we're doing. But we've got, and it's not all 100% negative on this stuff, because you've got a clear-cut line. And Hemingway and Falcone trying to, oh, I disagree with some and I support our law enforcement officers. No, you don't. Sean Mill, we knew. We knew where Sean Mill was going. And I would tell you this, and I would tell Sean that, and I'll invite him into the show. We can have a discussion about it. The only reason I've supported Sean Mill for Riverside City Council was not Gabby Placentia. And that goes back to the deal we had at Alvord School District and all that. And the Republicans that screwed that deal up. Republicans, especially those on the Christian side, the Holy Roller Southern Baptist types. But that's a story for a different day. We ran that. We supported fiscal responsibility and straightening out our schools. We don't care who's doing it as long as they're not axe murderers or something. But Clarissa Cervantes put this order up that we're going to go on the wokeologists. So we know who the wokeologists are on the council. Clarissa Cervantes, Steve Hemingway, Phil Falcone, and the quasi-leader of this is Sean Mill. At least Clarissa's honest about it. She doesn't try to play both sides. So I've told you that you hear Republican or that, Republicans are much more dangerous than Democrats. They're there to, the establishment Republicans are there to rope you in, the freedom and liberty types, center-right freedom liberty types, and rope you into the establishment stuff. Here's Clarissa on her closing statement. Before she won the 4-3 wokeologist vote against Riverside Police Department, against law enforcement, against federal ICE agents enforcing the Constitution. Clarissa. See if we can make this play. Here we go.
Different status as races. And unless you are indigenous, unless you are from a sovereign nation, you are from immigrants.
Well, how does that work, Clarissa? Supposedly, I can trace my roots back to the indigenous people. And who's the hell to know who was what, where, what time, and really, what difference does it make, Clarissa? You know, in 1776, we have filed the Declaration of Independence. 1787, we had the Constitution, and then the Bill of Rights, and then the amendments. Well, we had 10 of the Bill of Rights, and then we've had, 15, 16 since then. The Constitution says Congress has plenary power over, which means absolute, over immigration. They can set the rule any way they want. They have set the rule that 1 million people can come into this country legally every year. We have a process to do it. Follow it. That's what the president, whoever he is, Clinton, Bush, Obama, Biden, Trump, they are there. They are the executive to enforce that law and make sure everyone in the United States is here legally. Period. Frickin' end of story.
And so to me, this resolution is about us affirming our values as a city It's about us affirming our mission statement about what we believe in Riverside, and that we believe and recognize the contributions that all of us make, and that we as a local government have the power always. Your taxpayer dollars fund this city. So of course it is within our ability to direct and coordinate and work with our police department to assure that we are upholding the laws in place in California. And we know
you swore an oath to the Constitution of the United States and the state of California and the laws of Riverside. First, the Constitution, the Supremacy Clause, Clarissa, is the supreme law. None of you, state or cities, can violate legally the federal law. They trump you, Clarissa. What part of the Constitution do you not understand? Or you, Sean, Phil, or Steve Hemingway?
that we are seeing pushback across the level from the federal level, but here at the local level, we need to do everything in our power to hold the line, to protect our people and communities. And that is ultimately my goal here today. And the resolution lays out sections of what we could tangibly do as a local government. And I do want to thank
Pitting law enforcement officers against each other, how is that protecting the city of Riverside, which is your main responsibility? Go read the California Constitution, Clarissa. It states, the people of California have declared public safety is the #1 priority of every elected official in the state of California. While you're creating dissent and chaos and putting federal law enforcement officers that you know, the cartels that are running those in this country mostly unlawfully and illegally, you are backing them, and you are supporting the 21st century slaves. You are supporting slavery because you know those who are here unlawfully or illegally are the ones, whether it's the cartels or the business owners, that are putting the thumb under those and using and making them, putting them in conditions that they couldn't do American citizens because he said, you know what, Jose or Juanita, if you mouth off or you don't work 80 hours for 40 hours pay, you're going back to Guatemala or China or Ethiopia or wherever. The amount of evil that's going on here is absolutely stunning. And to oppose our president, Donald J. Trump, who is upholding the law and enforcing the law and making our communities safe, while you oppose that at every means.
our chief of police for working with me, because we can't do anything alone. I want to thank community leaders like Mary Figueroa in the audience. I want to thank so many of you. There's too many to thank out loud, but again, we can't do anything by ourselves. But when we can come to the table together, I even want to thank my colleague, Councilmember Sean Mill. He also drafted something, and then we were able to take some pieces and put it into this revised version.
Oh, I'm thanking Sean Mill. What a surprise. It's absolutely stunning of what goes on. I want to finish up with what Chuck Conder, retired military, longtime council member of the city of Riverside. Here's Chuckaroo.
I don't like it at all. Not one damn bit. But if we are going to wade into this matter, then we owe the public an honest discussion tonight. These officers are not covering their faces, concealing their names because they want to. They are doing it because they have to. They have to do it for their own personal safety, both on and off duty. They have to do it to protect their lives and the safety of their families and loved ones. They have to do it to fulfill their duties to keep our communities and our families safe.
I really do have to ask.
Very
please,
unrespectful, ladies and gentlemen.
We did.
So you heard Mary Patty Dean. Well, you know, I don't like hearing that. She didn't say that, but that's what she meant. But Condor's got it 1,437% correct. We all should be upset that our federal law enforcement officers are under threat from gangs who put a $50K bounty on their lives. And Clarissa Cervantes and the whole crew that was down there supporting this, they know what they're doing. They know. They are with the cartels and everything, and come in here and prove me wrong. Not just say it, prove it by your actions. Your actions to me prove you're with the Mexican gangs, the cartels, and putting 50K hits. 50K hits, bounties on the very officers you're talking about. And the young lady that spoke just before me, her husband was an ICE officer. She and her kids will be ones that are targeted under the deal you've had. And I want to do this about the lawyers that we're coming up there due process. Well, I'm no lawyer, give legal advice, but this is my understanding. Why don't you explain? I asked them to explain that before they voted on it. American citizens have full due process rights under the Constitution, 14th Amendment, and everything else. Those here on a green card, people here legally but not citizens, illegally, unlawfully, or anything else, have limited due process rights in the United States of America because they are not citizens. So scream due process, and plus the 100K, up to 100K they're doing for, we're going to help them out and yada, yada, yada. If you want to be an American citizen, like Hillary Clinton said, come in here legally, learn English, go through the process, swear an allegiance to the United States of America, then welcome aboard. If you want to create chaos and strife and turn the United States into a Mexican, China-run, communistic, cartel-run piece of crap, then I bet you Chuck, and a whole lot of us will fight you with every breath we got. Book it. On to other news. I'm sure this will be overturned fairly quickly by either a appellate court channel or the Supreme Court, but a California judge blocks Trump administration from firing employees during the Schumer shutdown. We have to put up with, we shouldn't. This is why judges are some of the most either important elected officials or appointed officials. They can do a lot of good and they can create a lot of havoc too. So when you get to elect them, or when you have the opportunity to elect them, please put a little time into researching that. And that goes to the officials, and we'll get to this in a bit. To the officials we have, from the City Council of Riverside to the Congress of the District of Criminals to the scoundrels in Sacramento and everywhere in between, we have to pay more attention to who we are electing to office, lest we not permit some of that. Speaking of stupidity on parade, Betty Yee was a longtime Board of Equalization member, and that's the one that does the basically sales tax and stuff. Then she was elected controller. Controllers can be a very powerful, could even be more powerful than the governor, because they can really play havoc with the finances, or they could straighten them out. She was controller of California up until what, a year or so ago? You wonder why California's finances are in trouble? She was on with Piers Morgan. And we'll get to that, some of the Katie Porter stuff of Miss Katie, but she's running for governor now too. She was controller, Board of Equalization, in charge of your money that they took to you by force of a gun. And it's really, really, really almost mind-boggling, unbelievable. Some of the absolute mental midgets we have elected all across the state of California in every office, school board, sewer cleaning commissioners, water boards. Of course, our state legislature, assembly, Corey Jackson. Ooh. Clarissa Cervantes, which wants to represent Riverside in the state assembly. We got to get behind Leticia Castillo in District 58, like you, even harder than we did to get her elected almost 2 years ago.
20 seconds, 20 seconds.
Jesse said we'll be joining the Mighty Met KMT here a few seconds. And we'll get on to more. We'll get into the whole governor race with the Betty Yee, the latest brain surgeon that's had a mental meltdown in the governor's
2
race.
seconds, here we go.
Hey. IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
There's that funky slide guitar music that comes in every Monday through Friday live, 5:30 on the Mighty Met, 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire in the format today, and banjoing your vast video audience in the Evil Band Network, Rumble, I think X is down, the YouTube, all that. Check us out, subscribe to all that good stuff. The Wokeologist won. They have pitted Riverside cops against federal ICE agents in a 4-3 vote, led by Clarissa Cervantes, who put the resolution in to put the Riverside community's safety in peril. Whether she's politically pandering, believe it, or whatever, it doesn't matter. This is who you elected. We're not going to mention the twice she was arrested for DUI and pled guilty, 1 to 0.15, which means you are totally S-faced. And then after promising not, if you expunge my record on that, I won't do it again a month later. We ran the story here, what, a year or two ago. Boom, she gets popped for it again. Those of you that went up there, Steve Johnson and so, that said, oh, we got to support Clarissa and all this. Well, how do you like her now? We get into the Supreme Court hearings, and Ketanji Brown Jackson, very dark in the skin tone, called Black Americans disabled. We'll get into that in a little bit, but the latest, and which hopefully we'll get a little bit to the Katie Porter stuff, the latest meltdown. The latest meltdown in the California governor's race belongs to Betty Yee. You're thinking, who in the hell is Betty Yee? Well, we will tell you. She was a two-term member of the California Board of Equalization. Yes, California. So there's five districts, all of the state of California. They basically oversee the sales tax. If you have a problem with sales tax or something, you go to the Board of Equalization. Then she became controller in 2014, I believe, or 15. And as we said, controller is a very important office because the controller actually has a lot of control over the state tax, all of them that come in. They could turn Gavin Newsom's legislature's world upside down by auditing, checking it out, and all that. Or they can go along with the crime that's been going on for years that's got us into deficits and all the financial stuff, and your kids being stupid after they've spent 3 times more on them. She was on with Piers Morgan. And the absolutely ridiculous indigenous stupidity that she brought when Piers Morgan asked her a very simple question. Are you in favor of men, boys, and girls sports, especially with the upcoming Olympics, which are going to be here in California here in 28? And if we were stupid and out of our minds enough in California to elect her governor, Morgan is asking her, well, why the hell? What would you do? I mean, what's your position on it? Here it is.
They are now part of, they have been through a transition, a physical transition, and I do believe that they should be able to participate with other female athletes.
Wow, well, you've got the Olympics coming to California, to LA. So are you suggesting that you would allow trans athletes to compete in women's sport in the Olympics if you were governor?
Well, I think there's still a lot of discussion that needs to happen. I think there's a lot of information we need to learn about what's really happening with the ability of trans athletes to compete. But my statement is about being able to be sure that they can compete.
Notice she's not answering the question. The question was, in the Olympics, if you become governor in 26, the Olympics, the world is going to be watching. Los Angeles, California, you'll be the governor. Do you support men, boys, and girls, women's sports? Simple answer, yes or no. And we go on this couch running, BS tour.
And right now,
No,
there's
but my
no
question is whether you think they should compete in women's sport in the Olympics.
Pierce Morgan is practicing what we said. Just let them speak. It will show their idiocracy. My question was, and this is what reporters don't do. This is what the reporter did to Katie Porter. No, this is don't give me this BS answer. Answer the question I asked you.
Because it's coming to LA, so it's relevant.
I think transgender female athletes are women athletes, and they should be able to compete.
Really? So if you were governor of California, you would support biological males who identify as women competing in women's sport in the Olympics?
They are now identified as transgender female.
And you
They
think
should
that
be-
makes, and you think it's fair that they should then compete in women's sport?
Mind you, the Olympic Committee is saying, no, we're not letting biological born as males. You can call yourself whatever you want. You call yourself a furry, a kangaroo, or whatever the hell, an ant. You can call yourself a tree or whatever the hell you want. For the purposes of legal, sporting events, schools, everything else, you are going to be identified as how you were born. Again, even the Olympic Committee is now like the boxing deal where the dude is beating the crap out of the women. Oh, we couldn't have figured that wouldn't come about. Listen to this brain surgeon, Betty Yee. Well, hopefully we will. Here.
I think they should be able to compete in women's sports, but I also think that there is still some discussion about whether they should compete in the same field. But I just want them to be able to participate.
Sure, I'm sure
There's
you
a
do.
lot of-
Why, out of interest, why do you think we separate the sexes in the Olympics?
Well, because they do come with different attributes in terms of physicality. And
So you accept
yeah.
that we separate the sexes because men have a physical advantage over women?
I know about an advantage in some sports, yes, in other sports, maybe not.
Can you think of a single sport in the Olympics where men would not have an advantage over women, with the exception potentially of archery?
You know, I think you can see female athletes where, particularly in track and field, where agility is
What?
probably.
Hang on.
She really didn't say that. Track and field? Track and field. This is the whole thing we've been going with Harupa Valley. And A.B. Hernandez, the boy that's taken all the medals. Whatever Thomas, the dude that was beating Riley Gaines and everything, was the 500th male swimmer, is obliterating the women, the ladies, the girls. And we've had this story long enough. How in the hell could you be a politician with 2 brain cells and not know what's going on? Now, just come out. If you're going to support it, then yeah, I say I support it. They're a bunch of racist white hillbillies or whatever you really believe, Betty. Why don't you just say it? I mean, Piers is being cool. Again, he's just asking the questions and letting her speak.
Are you suggesting that women... So hang on. You think that women could compete?
Piers was almost ready to crack up. He's like in total disbelief. And he shouldn't be, because there's far too many of these nutcases that are pulling this, just like Clarissa Cervantes here in Riverside. Here we go.
Against men in track and field, like in 100 meters, 200 meters, 10,000 meters. Do you?
Perhaps, you know, I'm not a sports expert. But...
Oh, of course they couldn't. Have you seen the times that women and men record in the Olympics for all track and field events? Have you watched Usain Bolt when he smashed the world record for the 100 meters?
Yes, yes.
So you think women could run against Usain Bolt, for example, at his peak, and that would be fair?
I think, look.
We don't need to go into any more of this. If she gets 1 vote, along with that witch Katie Porter, we're done as a society, especially women. I don't know why you ladies would put up with this kind of crap and actually support it. In the majority of you, do you really want to lose your title as the smarter half of the population? Because you're working on it if you want to get down to this level of these ding-dongs. Another local important story. At the other RUSD, Redlands Unified School District, Candy Olson and Jeanette Wilson. I mean, they've been like in a 2-2-1. There's two Candy and Jeanette on the side of kids, parents. You got two wokeologists. You got one sitting in the middle, but they've been winning most of the battles. But Candy Olson is framing things as it should be. She's calling out the real racism where it lies. And the real racist, even though she lost the vote, she's on the right side of the issue. And if we're ever going to live in harmony as one nation, we need to do this.
The board approved a progressive speaker to come in and specifically target African American students. Now, I do respect the majority opinion of the board. However, as an individual trustee, I have to voice my concerns and tell you exactly why I voted no. In good conscience, I cannot support something that focuses on the color of someone's skin to provide services for specifically. I think that we need to bring in a different program, which I have formally requested from our school board president to place on the agenda. The program that I'll be advocating for is a program that promotes a sense of belonging, which will target all students that are disadvantaged and need a little bit of extra help, encouragement, motivation, and inspiration.
What a concept. We're going to uplift all students in the Redlands Unified School District. We're going to treat them equally. We're going to help them all with their individual needs, regardless of race, religion, skin color, or whatever. Sex. What a concept. That's a concept we should see. Again, if we're going to live cohesively as one nation or one world, Candy Olson is 111% right, got the right policy. You don't have to dig out the vote or have that out there. I'd like to know the 3 or 4 that voted against it. But this is the kind of discussion we need to have if your real goal is to live in harmony with your fellow man.
We need to really focus on what brings us together as a community and as a school, as a district, and not pit students against each other, identifying them into subcategories and different physical characteristics.
1,111% correct. Conquer and divide. Stalin, Hitler, Idi Amin, Hugo Chavez, the list goes on, Castro, Barack Obama, that's what they want to do. Remember Barack Obama? You know, you guys, you brothers, you got to vote for that black woman, which really isn't a black woman, but you can't vote for that racist white boy, Trump. You know what finger they gave Mr. Racist Barack Obama. And that's what we got to do. We got to start thinking, and we got to have people in office, and we got to start putting policies in our schools, cities, counties, state, nation, and world, exactly what Candy's talking about and proposing.
We are starting to provide money and services in the name of a race, that we go down a pathway of dividing things or giving special attention or special favors or treatment to one particular race. And I think that setting a precedent may be challenging, because what if the Hispanic club wanted to have a expensive speaker or an expensive luxury, or, you know.
This is where it starts. And Candy's exactly right. Once you open this door, then the floodgates go in and everybody wants this. And why they, this side or this person got this, why ain't I? Why don't we uplift all students? Why don't you get them? And I don't know what Redlands is, but like the Moreno Valley Unified Crime Syndicate, 3 out of 4 kids are not even at grade level, K through 12. Why don't you work on that first before we start worrying about all this other crap? But I really want to thank and applaud Candy Olson for having the guts to stand up on principle and on the right side of the issue and let the chips fall where they may. I know it's difficult, but that's what she was elected to do. She understands the oath she took, and she understands her responsibility as an elected official. And we need more people like Candy in office. If we get more people like Candy in office, we'll be fine. We won't have these discussions. The joy that will be going on, as Trump said, you'll be begging them to stop. I want to wrap it up with the Supreme Court. The Voting Rights Act is being heard in oral arguments today. Another brain surgeon, Ketanji Jackson Brown, at the Supreme Court, and she's a Supreme Court justice, appointed by Joe Biden, the only one, called Black people disabled. Some of the stuff that went on in this hearing was absolutely stunning. Here's Ketanji.
I'm thinking of it, of the fact that remedial action, absent discriminatory intent, is really not a new idea in the civil rights laws. And my kind of paradigmatic example of this is something like the ADA. Congress passed the Americans with Disabilities Act against the backdrop of a world that was generally not accessible to people with disabilities. And so it was discriminatory in effect because these folks were not able to access these buildings. And it didn't matter whether the person who built the building or the person who owned the building intended for them to be exclusionary. That's irrelevant. Congress said the facilities have to be made equally open to people with disabilities if readily possible. I guess I don't understand why that's not what's happening here. The idea in Section 2 is that we are responding to current day manifestations of past and present decisions that disadvantage minorities and make it so that they don't have equal access to the voting system, right? They're disabled. In fact, we use the word disable in Milligan. We say that's a way in which you see that these processes are not equally open. I'm thinking.
There you have it. Basically, if you want to get down to it, after 60 years of the Voting Rights Act, where they said, oh, it's legal to gerrymander districts. Why? Because black and browns can't. They were really calling them too stupid to know how to vote. That's what Ketanji is contending. And if you don't think that's so, look at it, Janani Nelson, in oral argument. She's the attorney for, oh, we got to keep the racist, that action. Look at what she said.
That's right. And in the state of Louisiana, that analysis was conducted in the Nairn case. And it was clear that regardless of party, white Democrats were not voting for Black candidates, whether they were Democrats or not. And we know that there is such a significant chasm between how Black and white voters vote in Louisiana that there's no question that even if there is some correlation between race and party, that race is the driving factor.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I bet you the Supreme Court returns a deal getting rid of the gerrymandering. Blacks are not smart enough to put candidates forward that are going to win. No, it's those racist whites. Those racist whites that voted for Obama. If whites, as you say it, Janani, didn't vote for the big O, he would not be president. But they're over there doing yada, yada, yada. Supreme Court justices, attorneys are arguing this in court. Saying wholeheartedly, Democrats, not Republicans, Democrats would not vote for a Black candidate. You cannot make this up. The other side, the opposing side, arguing for free and fair elections, had this to say to Sotomayor, Supreme Court Justice's statement. Here we go.
That even white Republicans or white Democrats won't vote for Black candidates.
Right, but if these were white Democrats, there's no reason to think they would have a second district. None. And so what is happening here is their argument is because these Democrats happen to be Black, they get a second district. If they were all white, we all agree they wouldn't get a second district. That is literally the definition of race subordination.
He's exactly right. The voting, and that's what I said. The only part of the Voting Rights Act, or the 64, 65 civil rights legislation, was the Jim Crow part that said, the equal, where they were trying to keep Blacks out of voting. That was wrong. This whole gerrymandering thing, or you have to let people in on your private property that you don't want on there, and the whole thing is racist against private property, and really probably the first destruction of the main tenet of the formation of the United States of America. Go read the Federalist Papers and the Constitution. Is your right to keep and own your private property and do with it as you wish. Not the government, not King George, not King Obama, nobody telling you what to do with it. As Hashan Morhan said, this is exactly the definition of racism. And that's what the 14th Amendment, and they're fighting this, Louisiana is fighting this on. And it says you cannot make no law based on race, creed, or color. And we said most of the 65 Voting Rights, Civil Rights Act was a violation of the Constitution of the United States of America. And I think in 2025, we're going to see that come to fruition. And it can't come too soon. We'll get back to the real rule of law and order here in the United States of America. And it's about darn time. See if we can squeeze in a couple local stories where we have to bail out. Go read this on iNewsWire, per se. Bizarre incident happening in Purdue with the bow and arrow. You'll have to check that out. That's a stunning story. Chino Hills homicide going on. Seems like there was a lover's quarrel done there. And that, rest easy, sir. A Riverside lieutenant was shot in an accident and killed in Idaho. That'll do it for today. Take it away, Jesse. That'll do it for today. But as we usually say at this time, it's mandatory you're back here in when? 23 hours wide. You hear the best darn show in the whole wide world. Till then, see ya.
All right. Have a great night.
We'll see you.